Big surprise this week.
Do I know it?
Um, you do
Oh,
because I was with you this past weekend.
that was a big surprise.
Uh, Big surprise. We got together to do some filming, and we planned on watching Dead Ringers
Mhm.
together, the next Cronenberg movie. But if you are seeing the title of this and the thumbnail, you probably know by now that that is not the film we watched. When Jimmy and I first started working on Lomo stuff together, I had just watched this film for the first time, and I told him that I wanted to watch it together. And obviously, COVID happened, so we have not been together in person very often. But now that we had the opportunity to, I said, you know what? Executive decision. Let's shake things up a bit. I recently watched Dead Ringers. It's fine. Let's watch a movie about filmmaking, a movie that puts a smile on my face. Let's just see what it does for you. This week we watched 1999 Chris Smith documentary, American Movie.
We talked about it when we first started our little journey as, filmmakers and creating our production company. And it was nice to kind of, when we were finally able to film, we sat down after filming and we watched this movie together. So it was really nice. It was cool. It
Yeah,
was gave me a renewed not that I didn't have focus, obviously, but watching this just kept like it threw a couple more logs onto the fire, for me to really be like, all right, yeah, I definitely have passion for this. This really showed me.
and I would say too that viewers can expect a little bit more, maybe a few more shakeups coming in the future. Not next week though, because next week we are watching Goodfellas, and we couldn't be more excited about it because I have not seen the film. Um, but this was something different, and you can expect maybe some more surprises in the future. Um,
I think we should cover our big surprise though. Is that we're done. We're done with yeah, we're done. That's it. We're done. No,
what?
what? Sorry. Yeah, big surprise, Aaron. We're done. No, since we decided, as we really enjoy doing this and we really enjoy going through these journeys with different directors, but we realized that if we don't switch it up and we're going to end up doing Scorsese and Cronenberg till 2035. So, I mean, that's all we would have to change the name of the YouTube channel to Cronenberg Scorsese Analysis. So we decided that it'd be best moving forward. We will no longer. So this season, this chapter, this section of At the Movies will be finished with Goodfellas. We're done with the Scorsese movies. We're done with the Cronenberg movies for now. We will be moving on to two new directors, where each of us will pick 5 movies that we want to see.
I think it keeps us from being, so the whole goal of this, aside from talking about film, which we love to do, was to see how a director evolves. And I think we're still going to have the opportunity to do that. But now we have a lot more options in terms of choosing directors, because we won't get stuck watching someone for, like you said, 2 years straight.
Mhm.
If we're doing one of these every other week on that director and they have 50 films. Um, so what I like about this is that it gives us a lot more wiggle room and option to, like I said, pick more directors, but also in choice of film. Like, if I were to pick someone, I'm not going to give it away. We will pick next week. But if we were to pick someone whose films I was familiar with, I could maybe, one of my choices could be my favorite film of theirs. One of them could be a film I've never seen but want to watch for the first time. So there's a lot of different directions we can take this. For American Movie, I do want to say this is a kind of a hard one to find. I just looked on Just Watch the other day, and it does appear that you can rent it right now on Vudu or Amazon for $2.99.
Oh, nice.
I can't confirm that, because the last time I checked before the other night,
Yeah.
it was like nowhere to be found. And it's kind of bizarre because this was once a wide release film. It was picked up by Sony Picture Classics when it premiered. Um, there's been a lot of talk about a potential Criterion Collection release and some different things. But originally, I had watched the movie on Vimeo. Someone had uploaded it to Vimeo, and that was my initial experience with it. But watch this together, and I just want to know right off the bat, had you heard of this before? outside of what I had told you, what were your expectations going in, and how did you feel about it initially coming out of it?
So obviously I had no idea before you brought it up that like last January, I think is when you first brought this movie up to me. Other than that, never heard of it, never even heard of the who they were following. Never heard of Coven, Mark, or any of them before.
Excuse me, it's Coven. Coven sounds a little too close to oven, buddy.
It's Coven.
I'm just
Why would it
I'm
be
just going to
Coven?
bat.
That sounds weird.
Dude, I can't tell if this is a bit or not, but do you remember in the movie when they make a whole big production out of it
Yeah.
being Coven and not Coven?
Mhm.
So I'm just going to bat for Mark here, man. It's his movie. It's Coven.
Oh, here, I thought I was trying really hard to say it the way that they did, and then I was trying to defend them too, but then I realized that I was saying it the wrong way. Coven. Yeah, Coven. Sorry. Go into my takeaway now is after it, I felt a renewed, like I said earlier, passion burns brighter for making films. I thought it was really well done. The documentary itself, just seeing him like his struggles, and they weren't like sugarcoating anything as far as that. It was really like watching somebody that has such a strong burning passion for making a film, and he just wants to get his feature film out, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get there. So he knows that he has to get his short done in order to raise the money. And I think that's something that we've been talking about a lot lately is how do we raise funds for our films? And what are some of the tactics that we can do or what we need to do in order to reach this funding? And he was just a one man machine out there just trying to raise money, trying to get his films done, pulling in whoever he could to act or the extras just to get his movie done so he can reach his goal. And I think it was admirable.
You know, we don't usually cover synopsi, or anything. But to let people know, the movie centers on Mark Borchat, who is a filmmaker in Wisconsin, and this was made starting in '95. It's released in '99. And so initially he's trying to make a feature film called Northwestern. He is unable to get the funds he needs to do that right away. So instead, he works on Coven, which is a 35-minute shot on 16 millimeter horror film, as he describes it, black and white, that he's been working on since '94. I think he said he was sitting on the shots for like 2 years, I think. So he thinks that if he can finish Coven and sell the units, gets 3,000 tapes made and sell them, he could raise the money to fund Northwestern.
I was just thinking one thing I wanted to say before I forgot is it was interesting to watch this film because I really felt connected to Mark. And like since we're on this journey as well and we're becoming filmmakers, but it was weird because like at one point I think I even said it out loud is I was like, oh, I was those kids' ages when this was happening. Like he's like my parents' age. And that was like a weird like realization at first for me. It's like, oh wow, this was like
Right.
yeah, it's just interesting. That was just something.
And now, well, and now we are very close to Mark's age.
Mhm.
Because he was 29, 30 when this documentary was being made. And we are both very close to that age. And so watching it now, it really, I agree. Like there really was a connection to seeing this person. I mean, sure, it was 25 years ago, but seeing them pull all the stops to do whatever they can to get their art made um was inspiring. And
Mhm.
what I like about this film is that it doesn't shy away from showing. There are times in this film where Mark is very likable, and there's also times in this film where Mark is not so likable.
Yeah.
But the film, the documentary itself, does an excellent job of just giving you a full portrait of this real person who is committed to their art. And you're able to sympathize with him at times, and at other times you're able to say like, "Wow, I can't believe that he is, juicing up his uncle for more money," or I can't believe he got his mom to throw on a cult member costume and go out in the woods in the middle of winter."
It was funny though, because I could definitely see my mom doing that for us.
There's some real moments of comedy in this film that are really just based on like the people that are around. His friend Mike Shank, definitely, obviously, probably like the standout character and
I
the
love
the
Mike.
character that's most often referenced, I think, sometimes parodied in like popular media.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but he is the humor always comes from these very real people and these very real places. And that being said, so does like the sadness of a lot of this stuff. I mean, there are scenes in the film where they're interviewing Mark's mother and they ask her if he'll ever be able to make a big film, and she kind of wrestles with it back and forth and ultimately lands on like, I hope so, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah. I
that's in
hope
the cards
so.
for him.
Probably not. And one thing, since you touched on that, that I think is great, and it's still Mark brings up a line when he's talking to everybody. He says somebody can go out and start their job at a factory, and everybody congratulates them, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing something," just because they get a paycheck. There's nothing like rewarding from that besides at the end of the week or the end of every other week, you get a check that says you did something. Now you get this, and everybody celebrates it. And that's still true today. That's some of the like things that I know that I've talked to you about personally is like doing these things. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, shouldn't you like really just try to focus on like a quote like a real job?" Like whenever you do something like creative or anything like that, people are less likely to kind of be like, "Oh, that's awesome, like really good job, follow it." They're like, "Well, shouldn't you go back to what you went to college for, or shouldn't you be working in the restaurant industry again? Like you were doing so well. Why would you want to give that up in order to chase a dream?" And it's like nobody wants anybody to chase their dream because we completely forgot what like actually having a dream is. And Mark brings it up perfectly in this movie. And that, like as soon as he said that, I was like, yes.
There is this connection to the film's called American Movie, and before this, Chris Smith's first documentary was called American Job. um and there's this idea of being American, like in the film. Mark served in the military for a while, in between jobs, and while he was before he really got into filmmaking. But um, I think that this movie covers something that it's like when someone says the American dream, that's such a broad topic, and it's such a like not unique topic that you almost feel like it can't be done well, or it's overdone, or like, what could this movie possibly show me that I don't already know?
Yeah, 100%.
But I think this movie is like wildly successful because it is not just a movie for filmmakers. It is a movie for anyone who is passionate about something in their life that is not a traditional, path towards having a career. And something's it's also, I mean, it's inspirational for, like you said, for us, because not only do we have those desires, but we have this goal of being able to eventually someday be, self-sustaining
Yeah.
and being able to do what we love for a living.
Which I've always said, and we know this too, we will get there. I have 100% certainty in that. And I think that's what's key. And after watching this movie too, it really made me go, this is what I want to do.
The moments that people, the moments that are sad, or the moments where people maybe are not as sympathetic towards Mark, um because of things he says to people or does to people in the film in order to get his project made. um I think that they are important to show for the quality of the documentary. In order for it to be honest and well-rounded, you need to show that this person is not a hero all the time. This
Yeah.
person is, everyone has problems, everyone has personal problems. Here's another person. I mean, there are multiple scenes in that film where he's talking about his bills piling up, his phone bills, his credit card bills, all of this money he owes, and and how he needs to get these films made in order to live, in order to get these things
Survive.
paid and take care of and survive. Um,
Especially too when you
I
see his
did
kids and stuff. I mean, like that he's a father, that that's in the back of his mind too. As much as he wants to get the film done, I think doesn't really touch on it that like as far, but he really wants to provide for his kids and he wants to be successful so his kids can look up and go, that's my dad. And you
yeah,
know that's in the back of his head while he's doing all of this.
absolutely, absolutely. That's like one of those. There's a part I loved in the film. I think that this is like you could look at this movie like two ways, and one of them is kind of an optimistic point of view, and the other one is kind of like a pessimistic point of view.
Yeah.
And there's a scene that I think is perfect representation of that, where he's having his son help him cut shots, like, because they're doing all the editing by film, and he's having him help him like cut shots. He's telling him when to cut, and I think some people would look at that and say like, I can't believe he's like making his 6-year-old kid run the editing machine or whatever. But there's a part of me that just thinks about what it's like to be that young and to have your dad take an interest in you being around and wanting your help, and to do something with a parent that, like, to feel like you're doing something to help them and to see them be passionate about something, that I think is like a really beautiful part of this film.
You know what's crazy though when you bring that up is people say like, "Oh, I can't believe he had his kid like helping him do these like silly projects." Almost is kind of what the way that I interpret this, but nobody has an issue when a family owns a business and their kids are in there helping sweeping or like getting like
Right.
the plates ready. That is completely socially acceptable. But having your child help you go after your dream to help them get to a better place is not. It just touches on that whole like
Right.
what is everybody's perception of the American dream? It's not really a dream. It's just what other people dream of you.
I would say, like, not to disparage people that that want to work, in retail or anything like that. Like, if that is like what you like to do, and if you are able to make a living off of that, or just if you are happy doing that, then like that is your dream, that is your passion, and move forward with it.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I
Yeah.
also love the idea, as we get older, and as I think about my life, and I think about like fatherhood in the future. Um I was just talking to my girlfriend about this, and about how I don't. This is gonna be a weird hot take, and I feel like your background I feel like you may think that this is like a weird take, but I'm just gonna throw this out there. I have this opinion, and maybe it's just because I'm unhappy at my job right now, or um, whatever the case may be. But I have this opinion that we should not. I would not want to force my child, like as a 16-year-old, to get a job at some kind of like dead end minimum wage job, because my reasoning is that, like, I think that while learning responsibility is good, I think that teaching someone that their worth is tied to their productivity, in a capitalist society, is not a good thing to do. And there is this existential thing once you start working, where you realize, I don't get to stop. I don't get to stop until I am 60, 65. Like, once I start doing this is all I can do. And so this is just how I feel personally, and this is why I enjoy watching Mark's kids be a part of his life while he's making these films. I would just as soon encourage my children to use their time while they are young to pursue their hobbies, pursue the arts, pursue sports, pursue the things that make them happy. Because if there's any shot of them being able to do that for a living, they're going to have a lot easier time if they start early.
And we're here to talk about the movie, but I think this is important too. Is like so a little bit of my background is I started working for my uncle when I was 13 years old, and I worked pretty much every summer until I was able to work every day after school. Like when I got older and I could start doing more, so then I worked every day, and then I got other jobs like a cooking job and a delivery driver job, and then I got higher up. I kept on going, and I went to school full time I went to college full time. I was working full time, like 40, 50 hours a week. So I was always working. And I was always brought up on like, you have to just keep on going so you can keep on, like go to college, move up, and continually be better every single year. And it took a global pandemic for me to finally lose my job and go, holy shit, what is it that I actually want to do? And this is what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to own my own business. I want to make films. I want to create content. I want to help other people reach other dreams and bring them along and push this as far as we can go to not only make ourselves happy and self sustaining, but to give my family just a little bit better than not what I had. And I had it great. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that
Right.
I had a great, I had an absolutely great childhood, but I would like to even make that better. Like I would like to be able to, like, like you said, to not have to have my kids work so they can experience some like different things. They can come to shoots up, with us. They can work it, if they want to. I'm not going to force them. I'm not going to be like, you have to come out and film with us today. Not going to do that, but
no, I agree, and I think the idea that it is a rat race, and I think that we are told from a young age that you have no choice but to run it. But I think that the sooner you realize that the rat race is in fact voluntary,
mhm.
not in the sense that I get it. Like you got to work to survive.
Yep.
I understand that. You can't just quit your job and do the thing you want to do. It's not always ideal or a possibility, but
Yeah.
the sooner that you understand that like you have the ability to make time for your goals and potentially live your life achieving them instead of the goals somebody else set for you,
Yep.
it is a path to happiness and a path to satisfaction in life, and that's what ties back into me thinking that this is actually a very profound look at what the American dream is.
Also kind of nice too, and this like even saying this like freaks me the hell out. But when we're in our 50s and stuff and continue doing this, this is our American movie. Like what we're doing now, our whole transparency
Right.
for everybody to see what we're doing. We're basically cataloging and giving ourselves our own a documentary for our whole entire growth. So it's interesting that we're doing our own American movie while we're trying to create and make this company self-sustaining as well. So that's interesting.
This brings up its own interesting point that I wanted to discuss with you because um, this movie has received largely positive reviews. It's got like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people on Letterboxd love it. It's definitely revered as a smart and funny film. But there are some people who argue that it is exploitative of its subject of Mark,
Well, I even
and
kind of
Mike
brushed
and
on that.
Bill, and yeah. So this idea that the filmmakers, primarily Chris Smith, could have, rather than filming a Mark for a balance of like 3 to 4 years and watching him and making a film about his struggle, um, as opposed to helping him make his films, or showing their filmmakers showing him better ways to do it so that he can be successful. um do you feel that it's exploitative?
So I had a chance to actually think on this because I remember when we watched it. Like I said, my only thought, and it wasn't a complaint, and I understand why that I get it. Like Chris shouldn't help him really because it's a documentary about it, and I can kind of see where they're at because I said right on that day, I said it kind of sucks to know that there was a whole film crew behind him when he was struggling trying to get his camera to work, to get people there to like do other shots. And I was like, that kind of sucks knowing that there was all of these people behind them filming this that could have maybe jumped in and helped. I did have time to think on this. And I don't think Mark would have wanted that to happen because then it would have proved that he couldn't have made it by himself. And that was his whole goal, was to make it himself. So if these people helped him, Mark, it wouldn't have got Mark in his own headspace. He would have felt like he failed if he had to get help like that. So after thinking about it, I no longer think that way because I know that's not what Mark would have happened. And if I was in Mark's shoes, I'd be like, don't even, no, I'm good. You do you. I am doing me. I'm going to figure this out. You just stand there. I'm good. I got this.
That's a great point, and I think that no one is under obligation to, it's not like Chris Smith was obligated to, when he sees a struggling filmmaker, to go out of his way to give them a masterclass in filmmaking.
Yep.
B, I think him intervening, as you said and as you were hinting at, would have would have made anything that Mark created be less his.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, it's nobody forced Mark to be in this documentary. And there's also an argument that because of the popularity of the film after it came out, that it actually gave Mark more opportunities to, he became David Letterman's election correspondent for the 2000 election. He had a lot of TV and film appearances. He's now made 2 films of his own. He's working on 2 more. He starred in a 2011 horror film. There's an argument to be made that, his path, because they didn't intervene and because this film came out, his path was still laid down in front of him to move forward with a career in film.
I think it
Um,
almost made his like I think it so if I don't know, I think it actually helped him more than if it's shitty to say, but I think it helped him more getting this press, getting this like everybody's, seen this movie. I don't know if everybody would have saw Northwestern. You know what I mean? And that's kind of
Yeah,
that like double edged
absolutely.
as a like saying that not myself. I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes me feel bad saying that, but kind of like, yeah, but it helped him out. It got him eventually to where he wanted to be. And even, after we watched the film, we watched some other things now that he's older and he seems happy. Like, at least from what I can
Right.
tell, I
It
can't like
does.
judge a person just by like a couple minutes of like YouTube videos and some content I watched, but he seems happy to be where he's at. So I think it was all good.
Not like it paved him a way to stardom either. Like, it
Yeah.
does seem like it's where he wants to be, in the sense that he is still in artistic control of his own projects. He does the things he wants to do. It's not like he went Hollywood or anything. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy, based on the documentary at least. And again, this is 25 years old, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's really interested in that. He seems like the kind of person that is interested in independent filmmaking,
Yep.
unique artistic filmmaking, his vision. And I am glad that he is not only able to do that, but I'm also glad that I just really think there's something about this story that is worth capturing on film. And it's both the passion, it's everything we've talked about already. It's the characters, it's the passion, it's Mark's ambition, but it's also, there's this film works as a character study, it works as a time capsule. Film is very 90s
Yep.
in how it looks, and also the fact that it takes place in the Midwest. It's this perfect storm of ingredients that really just make it watchable, and makes you, really feel like these characters.
Yeah, it made me really nostalgic from when I was a kid. Like seeing those scenes and like seeing that like surge that he gave his uncle and some different like
Yeah.
90s things. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I kind of miss it.
I just want to leave this. I don't think, no ranking this week, because it doesn't really compare. We could throw it in our final ranking next week if we want to.
Mhm.
But I do want to end this with, on my opinion, on my part, a strong recommendation to see this film if you are passionate about anything in your life and you feel like obstacles are getting in the way of you being able to do it. That is 100% me right now. It's where I am. Um, and I'm working every day to overcome it. Some days are harder than others, but there is something about this film that's very lovable and admirable. And so I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on it and how it motivates them. I know that Mark is active on social media, and I don't know if he will sit down and watch a 30-minute video of people shooting the shit about a movie he was in 25 years ago. But if he does, I appreciate it, and we'd love to talk to you sometime about filmmaking and how you got to where you are today. So regardless, thank you everybody for tuning in to At the Movies. We love doing this show, and we've got one more episode left. Next week, we're going to be watching Goodfellas before we wrap up the season, and we will also be announcing the next directors that we are going to pull. So you can look forward to that.
And also, too, we will have another special announcement on the next video. So make sure you watch the whole way through. Whole way, like Aaron said, we'll be switching, not directors, but right at the end of it, we will have another surprise that I know that you're going to love. Kind of already know what it is, but we'll see you then.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next week at the movies.